Who among us doesn't love a good cameo? All the more so if it's totally unexpected. So long as the thing you're watching isn't just, thing? Remember thing? Yeah, regardless of how they're received by audiences, cameos are a whole other matter for actors, with many having come to actively share their displeasure over one of their brief appearances. I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture, and here are 8 movie cameos actors hated. Number 8. Michael Shannon, The Flash. Oh, love Michael Shannon, me. Such a good lad. Look at him here in the Criterion closet, a man in his element. Where Michael Shannon is decidedly less in his element, though, is superhero movies, which he started a brief affair with in 2013's Man of Steel, playing General Zod. But despite his version of Zod being killed off a decade ago, the actor reprised the role in The Flash, courtesy of the movie's definitely not overstaying its welcome at this point multiverse story. Shannon played Zod once again for a few minutes in the film's third act, with him and his army serving as the primary obstacles for the Barry Allen's Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman to overcome. God, the multiverse has too many crimes to answer for at this point. Yet, as won't surprise anyone who's actually seen the film, this was basically an easy paycheck role for Shannon, and days before The Flash was even released, the actor held nothing back in detailing his distaste for the part. In an interview with Collider, he said that, quote, "Yeah, not gonna lie, it wasn't quite satisfying for me as an actor. These multiverse movies are like somebody playing with action figures. It's like, here's this person, here's that person, and they're fighting. It's not quite the in-depth character study situation that I honestly felt Man of Steel was." Number 7. Jamie Lee Curtis, Halloween Resurrection. Halloween H2O ended with Curtis's heroine Laurie Strode unambiguously decapitating Michael Myers with an axe, fulfilling Curtis's desire to finally give the series a concrete ending. However, Halloween producer Mustafa Akkad had a contractual stipulation that prevented the filmmakers from definitively killing Michael off, in order to facilitate the creation of future sequels. And so Curtis was forced to reluctantly accept that Resurrection would instead retcon H2O's ending by revealing that Laurie actually decapitated a helpless paramedic who Michael had swapped clothes with. At a New York Comic Con appearance in 2022, Curtis revealed she wasn't thrilled about having to come back, and so ensured she was extremely well compensated for jerking fans around. Quote, "I said to them, okay, if you're gonna do that, my audience is gonna feel like it's ended." Quote, "I said to them, okay, if you're gonna do that, my audience is going to be feeling like it's ended. But you have to pay me a lot of money in the next movie, and you'll have to kill me in the first 10 minutes of the movie because I've now killed an innocent man, and I can't live with that." It's certainly easy to see where Curtis is coming from, and in the very least, she received a fat payout for what must have been just a few days of work on her widely loathed Resurrection cameo. Plus, she finally got to draw a line under the Dimension Halloween movies with Blumhouse's 2018 saga, so snakes and ladders. Number 6. Freddie Prinze Jr., Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker features vocal cameos from a bevy of Star Wars actors, with the climactic sequence where the voices of various Jedi call out to an injured Rey to help her overcome Palpatine. Among them was Freddie Prinze Jr., who reprised the role of fan-favorite character Kanan Jarrus from the animated series Star Wars Rebels. However, given that Kanan died in a Season 4 episode of Rebels, aired almost 2 years before The Rise of Skywalker's release, Prinze Jr. had to have his arm twisted to lend his voice to the scene at all. In an appearance on the Big Thing podcast, Prinze Jr. mentioned that he didn't want to portray Kanan in any Star Wars media following his demise on Rebels, feeling that any appearance after the character's death would, quote, dilute his impact, which, yeah, totally makes sense. Speaking specifically on Episode 9, he said that, quote, "Yeah, I didn't want to do that either. I was asked as a favor, and I feel like all their favors are used up now." Prinze Jr. went on to confirm that he won't be appearing in the soon-to-release Ahsoka series, and you know what? Good for him. Number 5. Devon Sawa, Final Destination 5. Though Final Destination star Devon Sawa didn't return to film new footage for the 5th movie, shots of him from the original film were repurposed into Final Destination 5's ending sequence, just as it's revealed that the sequel is actually a secret prequel, leading into the events of the original film. However, in a recently deleted tweet, Sawa revealed his disdain for this cameo, naming that he wasn't paid a penny for the footage being recycled. He said that, quote, "I never got paid a cent for Final Destination 5. They didn't even tell me I was in it when they invited me to the premiere. In the first contract for Part 1, there was a section that stated they own the footage and could use it in the future, I assume for press. I was wrong. In a tumultuous period for the industry where actors are speaking out louder than ever before, expect to see far greater pushback against performers not being compensated for their image and likenesses being used. All the same, Sauer added that his issue was entirely with the studio who drew up his contract, not those behind the fifth movie. Number 4. Mahershala Ali, Eternals. Mahershala Ali has a teeny tiny cameo in the Eternals' post-credits scene as superhero Blade, speaking a single off-screen line to Dane Whitman when he goes to touch the ebony sword. Quote, "Sure you ready for that, Mr. Whitman? Because, as we all know, Blade always hangs out with the Black Knight. Wherever there's a sword nearby, Blade's your guy." That's his motto. Definitely not meant to be a horror vampire thing. God, this is so awkward. Anyway, although Ali is excited to start shooting his solo Blade movie in the near future, he admitted during a 2021 appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert that he struggled with his first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe being a bite-sized voiceover cameo. He said that, quote, "I've never walked into a role where the anticipation of it was so great. You lose a lot of sleep over it. I was losing sleep over this line because, ideally, you want to be talking once you are filming. And 100% of the time, my first day on any set, on any job, I hate it. I hate how I sound. I don't believe myself, you know? So you're trying to get comfortable in the character, so to have to talk before you're even actually filming was challenging." So yeah, the cameo itself is one that he didn't hate, but actually doing it was a tough experience. Number 3. Simon Cowell, Scary Movie 3. Now, it's certainly generous to call Simon Cowell an actor, but he does make an appearance as himself, or rather a character of himself, in Scary Movie 3. During a sequence that parodies the rap battles from 8 Mile, Cowell shows up out of nowhere as a judge who, after giving a typically scathing critique in the style of his American Idol teardowns, gets shot dead by the gun-toting mob. In a 2009 interview with Entertainment Weekly, however, Cowell called the cameo one of his worst ever career decisions. He said that, quote, "Actually, that's probably the worst decision I made this decade. I'll never forget going to that premiere and dying in my seat when the movie came on. I've never felt so embarrassed in my life. Lesson learned. Don't believe that you're good at other things. I might be okay as a judge, but I'm a lousy actor." Cowell has largely shied away from appearing in movies after this, so fair play to him, I guess, for appreciating that acting wasn't his forte. Number 2. Hayley Atwell, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. During the Doctor Strange sequel's Illuminati sequence, Hayley Atwell portrays the Earth 838 variant of Peggy Carter, who was the one to take the super soldier serum rather than Steve Rogers. Atwell's screen time as this kick-ass variant of Peggy was short-lived though, as after appearing in the movie for around 2 minutes, she's cut in half by her own shield at the hands of Elizabeth Olsen's Scarlet Witch. In a recent appearance on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, Atwell called her cameo a, quote, "frustrating moment." She said that, quote, "I'm like, that wasn't my choice," when she was like, "I could do this all day," and then followed by, "She's immediately cut in half by a frisbee," and the audience being like, "She can't do it all day. Apparently, you can't, so egg on your face." That doesn't really serve Peggy very well. I feel like I had much more to do in the What If animation series. Well, at least she's kicking ass in Mission Impossible now. And number 1, Karen Allen, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Though Karen Allen returned for a relatively sizable role in the 4th Indiana Jones film, The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, she ultimately only came back for a mere cameo in the recent 5th and supposedly final entry in the series, The Dial of Destiny. Allen's Marion Ravenwood appears for just a scant few minutes at the very end of the film, but as Allen revealed during the sequel's press tour, that wasn't always the plan, and she doesn't seem too happy about the change. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Allen discussed how her role was curtailed once Steven Spielberg exited the director's chair and James Mangold took his place. Quote, "When Steven was still going to direct the film, I didn't have the opportunity to read any of those scripts, although I know that Marion was much more involved in the story at that juncture. So I knew James had hired new writers and that was going to be a whole new approach with a new director and new writers, but I was really going into the unknown. The next thing I knew, I was reading a script that told Dial of Destiny's story, and of course, I was disappointed. I thought that I would be majorly a part of the film, and that was just not the direction I decided to go. I think they had some problems to solve with the story in terms of Shia LaBeouf not coming back, and they chose to create this story that Mutt had been killed in the war and let it put a wedge between Marion and Indy. I mean, you could have knocked me over with a feather when I read it, but I was really happy that they came back together in the end. So yeah, while Alan was relieved that her single scene involved the resolution of Marion and Indy's arcs, it doesn't take much reading between the lines to appreciate that she's unhappy with her role being cut down. And honestly, having watched Indy 5, same. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, innocent. And those were 8 movie cameos at This Hated. How did you feel about some of the above cameos mentioned? Did they work, or do you agree that they were frustrating? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and also subscribe to Wild Culture so you don't miss another upload. Either way, I've been Ewan, thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!